I got broads in Atlanta, just to lean the family. Credit cards.
Good day, I am Shala V. Pacaldo, and I will be discussing the operational provision under Custom Memorandum Order number 22 to 2010. So the first section under operational provision is Section 13. So Section 13 entitled the Statutory Provision on Entrance and Clearance. So the provision of Section 101 to 1025 of the Tariff and Custom Code of the Philippines as amended on entrance and clearance of vessel are then incorporated. So the next section is Section 14 entitled the Pre-Arrival. So the shipping agent or representative of any vessel engaged in foreign trade entering any of the Philippine ports of entry shall notify the Piers and Inspection Division of and Bay Service Section. So letter A is the Notice of Arrival or NON with estimated time of arrival. So the first one is the vessel's arrival and all other particulars at 24 hours in advance. The second one is upon receipt of the notice of arrival, the Custom Inspector or E2M to OIC of the Piers and Inspection Division Based Service Section shall perform the following functions. So the first one is the electronically verify the vessel registry number or principal and other vessel information through client profile registration system. The next one is the input and estimated time of arrival in the E2M customs system. Then the next one is include the time and date in the system and affix his signature on the hard copy of the notice of arrival. Then the last one is the furnish the custom boarding team a copy of the process notice of arrival. So in letter B is the assignment of custom boarding team. So the custom boarding team shall be assigned by the Ship Bay Service Section through a duly signed assignment order. So next is the letter C, the Inward Foreign Manifest and Consolidated Cargo Manifest contents. So the submission of Advanced Electronic Manifest before arrival of vessel engaged in foreign trade through A2M customs systems and penalties. So the submission of electronic copy of Inward and Foreign Manifest or AIFM and electronic, so the hard copy of the Inward Foreign Manifest requires to be submitted by the master of the vessel to the boarding officer shall contain the following information. So the first one is the bill of lading number, marks and numbers of cartons, drums, boxes, crates, and other forms of protective packaging. Next is the container and seal number if containerized and initial, FCL if full container load, and LCL if less container load. Next is the number of packages, kind of packages, the contents of description of cargo, shipper, consignee, gross weight in metric tons, measurement in cubic meters, and the port of origin and notified party. So the copy of Consolidated Cargo Manifest of CCM must be done through any of the value-added service provided or VASPS accredited by the Bureau of Customs. So the late submission, so the first offense is 10,000, the second offense is 20,000, the third offense is 30,000, and non-compliant submission is 30,000. So the next section is Section 15, the arrival. So letter A, the documents or permits, so the quarantine certificate for incoming vessel from a foreign port. So entry of vessel from any port or place outside of the Philippines shall not be permitted until they have obtained a quarantine certificate issued under the quarantine by the authority of the Bureau of Quarantine. So the next Number 2 is the entrance of vessel from a foreign port. The following custom personnel shall be the member of the custom boarding team. So the custom senior boarding officer, the custom inspector, and the custom guards. So next is the submission of advanced electronic manifest before arrival of vessel engaged in foreign trade through A2M custom system and penalties. So the submission of electronic copy of inward foreign manifest or EIF M. An electronic copy of Consolidated Cargo Manifest must be done through any of the value-added service provided accredited by the BOC. So the registration of e-manifest, so the system automatically register a manifest in the A2M custom system if the manifest meets the submission deadline. So the next is the documents to be produced by master upon entry of vessel. So the following documents properly accomplished shall be submitted by the master to the Customs Senior Boarding Officer. So the quarantine certificate, the clearance of vessel, and the original and 4 copies of IFM, and also the 3 copies of crew list, passenger list, and the copy of original duplicate of bills of lading, bonded store list, the narcotics, dangerous drug list, ship store list, meal list, firearms and ammunition list, crew declaration list, and the parcel list, and lastly, the shipping articles. So the next is the inward foreign manifest and consolidated. So Consolidated Cargo Manifest or CCM contents and the hard copy of the annual foreign manifest required to be submitted by the master of the vessel to the boarding officer shall contain the following information. So the first one is the original copy, so Pierce and Inspection Division or equivalent office, and 1 copy of the Commission on Audit Resident Auditor through the Office of the Commissioner, and 1 copy of the Intelligence Group, and 1 copy of the Assessment and Operation Monitoring Group. So next is number 5, the permits for discharge and loading of cargoes. So unless the vessel has put in distress, the Customs Senior Boarding Officer shall, upon placing the vessel under customs surveillance and control, issue a general permit. The next is number 6, the endorsement of permits. So all endorsement and returns shall be signed over the printed name and executed clearly and legibly, especially with a reference to any figures that may be included. So the first one is the general permit, the Shipside Permit, the permits for the sending of special consignment of cargo to the piers or the parcel section, and the next is the permits issued by the Deputy Collector for operation or its equivalent office for the transfer of cargo from one vessel to another. So then the next one is the Shipside Permit. So there are 3 kinds of Shipside Permits. So first is the regular Shipside Permit. So it is issued by the Deputy Collector for operation of its equivalent office as of now, presently required for all cargoes. The second one is the Special Shipside Permit. So when cargoes not belong to regular shipside cargo, such as ballast, garbage, provision, watering bunker, and vessel parts or of repair, the ship's agent has to get the authority from the Collector of Custom prior to the processing and approval by the Deputy Collector for operation of its equivalent office. So lastly is the temporary Shipside Permit. So is a written authority to discharge cargoes at shipside onto lighter as per order of the Collector of Customs. So the next is the transfer note. So shall be made in sextuplicate by the custom inspector on board for cargoes delivered at shipside. The transfer note shall show the following. So the name of vessel and register number, the name of lighter, name of broker and or consignee, the shipside permit number, the marks and number, kinds and description of goods, time and date lighter left alongside the vessel, the names and signature of custom inspector and custom guards in charge of lighter and the patron of the lighter. And then lastly is any other information and or remarks such as conditions set forth on the shipside permit by the Collector of Customs. So the next is the boarding sequence. So the vessel upon arrival from a foreign port at the port of entry and after the issuance of the quarantine certificate by the Bureau of Quarantine shall be boarded in the following order. So the first one is the Customs Senior Boarding Officer, the Custom Inspector, and Custom Guards assigned to the vessel. The next one is the Immigration Officer. The third one is Department of Agriculture of Plant, Animal, Fisheries Quarantine Representative as required. Then the lastly is the other agency or person authorized by the Collector of Customs. So the next one is the custom boarding team of foreign vessel. So the custom senior boarding officer shall be placed the vessel under custom control and surveillance by posting a custom inspector and custom guards thereon. The next one is no person shall be permitted to go on board such vessel except the pilot, consul, health official, immigration, and custom officer without the permission of the custom inspector on board of vessel. The third one is no tugboat, rowboat, or other watercraft shall be allowed to go alongside the vessel to ferry any person to or from the vessel without a permit from the collector of custom or his duly authorized representative. And the last one is unauthorized tugboats, rowboats, and other watercraft shall be kept away from such vessel. So the next one is the actual time of arrival of foreign vessel through A2M and customs system. So after boarding formalities, the A2M or to OIC appears an inspection division-based service section shall input the actual time of arrival from the boarding information sheets submitted by the custom boarding officers. So the next is the submission of supplemental cargo manifest. So the supplemental e-manifest submission is treated as non-compliant or late submission and shall be subject to penalty as stated in Part 2, Section 4 to C. So the submission of supplemental e-manifest, so the first one is cargoes or container not listed in the IFM but are otherwise recorded in the stowage plan must be covered by a supplemental e-manifest. The second one is for cargoes on container not listed in the IFM and stowage plan. The supplemental e-manifest must be submitted not later than 24 hours from the date of last package, and in both cases the deputy collector for operation and the ship pierce and inspection division monitor the 48 or 24 hours. So the next one is the unloading of cargoes. So discharging of containerized cargo shall be authorized only upon issuance of a general permit by the customs senior boarding officer. The second one is thereafter unloading of container shall commence. During unloading, the custom inspector or custom guards on board vessel shall verify the container number against the discharging sequence. The next is the custom inspector or custom guard shall be check or inspect if container deals are intact. Then last one is submit discharging report shall be submitted completion of the unloading operations. So the next one is bulk and brick bulk. So the clearance of cargoes for bulk and brick bulk cargoes shipment such as liquid, chemicals, petroleum products, and all other cargo shipped in bulk or brick bulk, the duties and taxes of which are normally determined by weight. So example, the wood, steel, core, grain, and etc. shall be governed by pertinent regulation, more particularly CAO 3 to 2010 and CMO 18 to 2010 on procedure for the bulk and brick bulk cargo clearance enhancement program mandated under Administrative Order number 243. So the next is the 2.1, the unloading of bulk and brick bulk cargoes at shipside. So the shipside discharge of cargo shall be authorized only upon presentation of necessary shipside permit issued by the deputy collector or for operation. So upon receipt of the shipside permit, the custom inspector assigned on board shall first is verify the subject shipment covered by the shipside permit against the annual foreign manifest as to correctness of marks and numbers, quantity, kind of merchandise, weight, and etc. The next is issue a transfer note in sextuplicate covering the shipside mentioned on the permit setting forth for the condition and a requirement imposed by the collector of custom on the face of the shipside permit. The next is assign a custom guard to check the shipside permit so that only those authorized to be discharged are unloaded. Next is assign a regular custom guard to underguard the lighter with the cargoes if the permit so stipulates. Next is the when bulk cargoes are to be discharged onto lighters, the custom inspector shall not allow any cargo to be unloaded without first obtaining the ton or immersion able to the lighter from the patron. Next is the duties of custom inspector relative to import cargoes. The first one is unless the collector of custom permits their discharge into lighter or carries the supervised public interest. Next is the all cargo from vessel that go alongside the piers except hereinafter specified. Next is all import cargo discharged at shipside shall be checked by custom guards detailed for the purpose by the custom inspector on board and for each carrier. The next is the custom inspector on board. The vessel shall permit shipside delivery upon ship receipt of the shipside delivery permit. The next is in cases where a discrepancy occurs between the check of the custom guard. The next is the delivery of cargo at shipside is the most importantly duty of a custom inspector. Next is the custom inspector on board may also receive written permits from the collector of custom or deputy collector. Next is special permits are issued to send certain designated cargoes to the custom house. Next is packages manifest as parcel and those containing valuable goods. Next is parcel. Listed articles shall be properly accomplished on BC form number 174. Next is goods from a foreign port may be transferred directly from the carrying vessel to another vessel engaged in the coastwise or foreign trade upon receipt of written permission from the collector of custom. Next is importation of arms and ammunition shall be discharged immediately from vessel with proper transfer note. Then lastly is the goods remaining on board any vessel after the expiration of the period for discharge. So next is the instruction to custom inspector relative to carrier receiving import cargo. So first is no cargo shall be discharged at shipside into open carrier except those authorized for delivery under existing custom rules and regulation. Next is carrier alongside a vessel having a cargo that is under custom supervision. Next is empty carrier shall not be permitted to lie at night alongside a government pier. Next is laden or partially laden carriers or shipside containing import cargo shall not be permitted to leave the vessel without permission from the custom inspector on board except in cases of emergency. Next is all merchandise and other movable articles on board a vessel. Next is the custom inspector shall as soon as practicable after a vessel has been placed in his charge. Next is ship stores may be discharged under the same condition as other cargo but the written permission of the quarantine officer. Next is an exist of supply in ship store in vessel arriving from foreign ports. Next is the 2.2 the unloading of cargoes and dockside. So all cargoes discharged at dockside from a vessel shall not be accounted for by the custom inspector. So passenger baggage, parcel list, and crew personnel effects. So the custom inspector shall cause the immediate discharge of all baggage, parcel cargoes, and article brought in by the ship's crews and passenger for discharge at the pier. Next is the custom inspector shall remind the ship officer or the purser of the vessel. Next is if baggage and parcel are to be discharged into a carrier in the stream. Next is for purposes of determining whether in cargo or entrusted shipments of merchandise or article from abroad be included in the parcel list or the BC form number 74. So the next section is section 16 entitled the departure. So A is the documents or permits. So the documents required for exportation. So the 1.1 is in general. So under export declaration, the commercial invoice, the packing list, and the export permits or for regulated cargoes. Next is the additional documents required. So in CBW shipments, the transfer note, certificate of identification, and certificate on inspection and loading. The PEZA or PIZA shipments, so the PIZA transfer note and PIZA tally sheet. Next is the provincial loading, the transit cargo manifest. Next is constructive warehousing and immediate exportation, the previous import entry and internal revenue declaration, and re-exportation ban and transshipment exportation permit. Next is the special permit to load, so the letter request from shipping lines and list of container indebted for loading. So next is number 2, the inspector certificate of leading or report of custom inspector on board. So the inspector certificate of leading is accomplished by the custom inspector on board of carrying vessel for all conventional export cargoes loaded into vessel. Next is number 3, the custom clearance of foreign vessels. So for purposes of clearance of a vessel, the following documents shall be presented to the PID or clearance section prior to the issuance of clearance. So the Bureau of Customs OPM Form number 12, so the outward foreign manifest have 4 copies. So 1 original copy and the 3 photos copy. The Bureau of Customs OPM Form number 10 is oath of master in manifest and clearance for foreign port. So have 4 copies, 1 original copy with custom documentary stamp and 3 photocopies. And Bureau of Customs OPM Form number 11 is oath of master to foreign vessel clearing without passenger, have 4 copies, 1 original copy with custom documentary stamp and 3 photocopies. And the Bureau of Customs OPM Form number 2 is the clearance of vessel to a foreign port, have 2 copies. Foreign port, first original copy and the second original copy. Next is the Bureau of Customs OPM Form number 3 of clearance of custom inspector assigned on board in 3 copies. Then BC Form number 88 is a statistic of supplemental in 4 copies. Then the Bureau of Quarantine clearance of outgoing vessel, the plant quarantine clearance, the post office clearance, the request for custom clearance by shipping agency signed by the custom inspector, concurring that the vessel in which he is assigned is ready to sail for foreign port. The next is the register and shipping article if the vessel is the Philippine registry. The next is the consular certificate of entry if the vessel is of foreign register when required. So the next is the stopping and loading of cargoes. So one is the containerized. So the containerized is under the 1.1, the instruction relative to stopping of containerized export cargoes. The 1.2 is the stopping of containers in custom bonded warehouses. And 1.3 is loading of bulk and brick bulk export cargoes at shipside. And lastly is the 1.4, the instruction relative to loading of containerized export cargoes. Next is the bulk and brick bulk. So in 2.1, the loading of export cargoes at dockside. So the export permits covering export loading shall be presented to the custom inspector prior to actual loading. So the custom guard shall make a tally of the actual packages or containers being loaded, checking the number of the packages, marks a number against the export entry presented. Next is the 2.2, the loading of bulk and brick bulk of export cargo. So the custom inspector on board of vessel shall permit the loading of export cargo only upon the presentation of the authority to load issued by the following. So the export division or one-stop export documentation for CBW shipments, regular export and PISA. Next is the export coordination division for export declaration processed by ACD for provincial loading. Next is the office of the Deputy Collector for operation for constructive, warehousing, and immediate exportation and foreign transshipment permits. The next is the loading of passenger baggage or crew personnel effects. So the custom inspector on board shall not examine incoming passenger baggage. However, if no examiner is on hand during nighttime, Sunday, and holidays, the custom inspector on board may inspect and pass the hand-carried personal effects of incoming passenger, retaining on board articles, goods and effects subject to duty and or tax, which will be sent to the office of the base service section or the PID for its equivalent office under transfer notes and underguarded. So the custom inspector shall also render transfer notes and on the face of the original of which the receiving custom personnel is in charge at the office of the base service section or its equivalent office shall indicate his receipt. Next section is the section 17, so entitled the custom transit. So if we say transit is from one custom zone to another custom zone. So again, if we say transit, from one custom zone to another custom zone. So custom transit operation refers to the transfer of goods from an office or departure to an office of destination under custom transit. So the custom transit means the custom procedure under which goods are transported under custom control from one custom office to another. So there are four kinds of custom transit operation. So the first one is from port of entry to another port of entry as exit point for outright exportation. Next is from port of entry to another port of entry or inland custom office. Next is from an inland custom office to port of entry as exit point of outright exportation. Then the last one is from one port of entry or inland custom office to another port of entry or inland custom office. So the next section is section 18 entitled the Transshipment. So if we say transshipment is if the vessel A transfer their goods to the vessel B, that's what we call the transshipment. So a special instruction to custom inspector related to the discharge of transshipped cargo. So the custom procedure under which goods are transferred at their custom control from the importing means of transport to the exporting means of transport with the area of the custom office, which is the office of both importation and exportation. That means foreign transshipment. So A is a special instruction. So one is the goods from a foreign port may be transshipped direct from the carrying vessel to another vessel engaged in the coastwide of foreign trade upon receipt of written permission from the collector of custom. Next is when a foreign transshipment permit authorizing the transfer of cargo from a foreign port is receiving by a custom inspector on board of a foreign vessel. Then the third one is the bulk and break bulk cargoes of foreign transshipment shall either be discharged directly into the receiving vessel if it's come alongside. So next is the containerized cargo for foreign transshipment shall be discharged the pier for eventual loading to the receiving vessel under the same condition stated in section 15 to A, item number 2 above. So the next is the instruction related to foreign transshipment by CCD. So after having been duly processed at the Deputy Collector for operation, the foreign transshipment permit in case of containerized cargo with its supporting documents shall be coursed through the Custom Container Control Division for posting of container numbers under eventual. So, the last section for the operation provision is the section 19 entitled the transfer of imported cargo to outside CYCFC by CCCD. After having been duly processed at the office of the Deputy Collector for operation, the permit to transfer to outside CYCFC shall be coursed through the Custom Container Control Division for posting of container numbers under eventual transfer. So, that's all for the operational provision under Custom Memorandum Order number 22 to 2010. So by the way, I am Shala B. Pacaldo, your